Hi, welcome to the Rittner Floral School in Boston, Mass. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner, and it's a pleasure to welcome you into one of our classrooms today. We've got a very neat video for you. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. As I say to all of my classes, one of our best friends as floral designers are our containers. And whenever we can find a container that's interesting, unusual, or will do very good things for us, we get very, very excited. And we found something that is absolutely amazing. The folks over at Jacobson's Floral Supply have been bringing in some really incredible containers that have some very, very unique finishes to them. Now, what these are is they're actually glass containers, but they've got finishes to them. They've got things over them. They've got a plaid tartan case over this, which is really cool. A plaid tartan. They've got an argyle. You can see the argyle effect. And they have something that they call winter sweater, which looks exactly like a winter sweater. I once had a sweater that looked exactly like this. These are very, very cool because what they've done is they've taken the concept of the glass container, and designers have been constantly diddling with these glass containers, putting foliage inside and other kinds of treatments. Well, what they've done is they put coverings over them that are really, really cool. Now, these coverings will work very, very well for Christmas designing. They'll also work well for general winter designing as well, so that they are really very, very versatile. They come in cubes. They also come in cylinders as well. So, for example, here is the winter sweater variety with the little reindeer in a cube, but here's one with snowflakes that is in a cylinder. So they come in cubes, they come in cylinders. We think this is really an amazing container. We also like this particular container because this container allows us to design both in water-based media, because glassware, we're always doing designs in water, but it also allows us to do foam-based media as well, and it covers mechanics in an amazing way. So it's a very, very versatile kind of container. As we go through this quick video, we're going to show you a variety of different things you can do with these containers. Now, we may concentrate on one container or the other, but everything we're doing here could work with the plaid, it could work with the argyle, or it could work with the winter sweater. The three designs you see up in front of you are a good example of different treatments with these containers. The first one over here is a classical kind of design with a mixture of flowers. We've got roses, we've got mini carnations, we've got our athos palms, we have our birch branches shooting up, we have our Christmas foliage of our evergreens, our balsam or our fir. The thing that's neat about this one is it's typical kind of design that you'd see as far as everyday working in a flower shop. A mixture of flowers, all kind of in a roundy-moundy shape, with flowers here, 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 all mixed together almost like a stew. Looking at the second design, we're playing with the concept of shape within shape. Shape within shape. In other words, if you look at it, you see a segment here of our birch branch. But if you look at it carefully, you'll notice a little section here creating a shape using the roses in here. A section using mini carnations coming down here, being broken by our millimeter balls, and then here more of our minis. So we've got a segment of the minis over here, and then a section of our green, lime green carnations over on the left. So in the second one in the middle, shape within shape. And the third design here is a round shape, but it's using clustering technique. In other words, what we mean by clustering technique is we've got our roses over on one side, we've got the pink roses over on the right, we've got our white roses over here, all concentrated in one section, we've got our red carnations over here, our millimeter balls in here. Three very, very different treatments, but very, very nice treatments to use as far as everyday designing is concerned. Now, let's see some other variations on these, because we've all been very busy here. Our staff has been working very, very hard here at Rittner's to come up with some variations, and we've really, I think, got some very, very interesting things to show you that I think you're going to find to give you an idea of some of the variations on this kind of thing. Here's another example of the winter sweater idea. In this particular case, we're making use of prestige flowers. We're using the of course, our balsam and firs to create the overall kind of context of this design, but then the use of the white hydrangea concentrated here. the use of our roses concentrated here and using our millimeter balls as a focal point. It's a very, very simple design. It's one that you could turn out very, very easily for production work, and yet I think what really makes this design, besides the fact that we're using some prestige flowers in it, is the container provided by Jacobson's Floral Supply with the snowflake effect. This little winter sweater effect, I think, really makes it. And because we're using white and red on the top, it unifies very, very nicely with the bottom. It gives a really, really cool effect to this design. Now, we can go in so many different directions depending upon what you'd like to do on something like this. And what I'm going to do here, my viewer, is I'm going to take one of the winter sweater designs and put it in front of you, and then I'm going to just drop in different options so that you can see some of the varying kinds of treatments that we could do using these containers. And again, everything that we're saying about this particular container, this particular unit, could go for the argyles or also the tartan plaids. And I think you can just see some of the potential in some of these materials that we have available. One thing that we can do is we can concentrate on the kind of materials that we use. In other words, we can concentrate primarily on one kind of material. In this particular design, for example, we can concentrate on the fact that we want to play with holly, which is very, very popular at the holiday season. We've got our holly berries in here. It gives a very, very pretty effect. We could go with just a general roundy moundy shape, but we thought that maybe a modified linear kind of thing would be interesting. Working in a giant cluster of our millimeter balls in here, it looks sharp, it's very, very pretty, and incidentally, not only can you get the container in terms of the winter sweater effect from Jacobson Floral, but also the millimeter balls are available from them as well. It is a classy design, simple and easy to make, definitely gets across the feeling of the holiday, and again, we've got unity in terms of the use of our berries along with our base. It gives a really, really cool effect. Now let's shift. If we don't want to use holly, we could use other things, other kinds of materials that would work very, very well as far as coming up with cool effects with these containers. Let's shift to our boxwood. Boxwood is really cool. People love boxwood around this time of the year. In fact, I wish we could get boxwood in throughout the year because it's such a great foliage. Now here we've got a very, very classical, beautiful design using boxwood. Boxwood is pretty much what we're covering it with. And then we've got a few other things in this design. 3 carnations. We have 5 of our yarrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yarrow. A couple of pine cones in here. We have some of our little bow here that has velvet on one side and gold on the other. Incidentally, also available from Jacobson's Supply. And we have some millimeter balls, some gold millimeter balls worked here and there. A lot of people are surprised to find that yarrow does work very, very well as far as Christmas and holiday designing is concerned. It really gives a nice contrast. And mixing our golden yarrow with our golden balls really gives a cool effect. This design does not take all that much material in terms of flowers. 5 yarrow and 3 carnations is very, very minimalist, and yet it's easy to make, fun to make. This could be made as a one-sided piece, or we could double our materials by doing the other side using the same thing. But notice the contrast here. We went from holly now to boxwood. What else can we do? We can come up with other kinds of combinations here. We can go with a little wilder in terms of our combinations. Really, these containers are so versatile. You can do so many different things with them. So let's take out the boxwood one, and let's come up with another variation on this. And in this one, we're going to go a little bit wilder, but it works equally well. In this particular case, we also have unity of materials because we're echoing the red and the white. Through the use of both red and white materials, we have our winter berries. Winter berries are an amazing material. These are provided by the folks of Blooming of Beloit, Wisconsin. They produce these things and they're just great. Kochia, which is a silvery kind of color, and then our single white hydrangea placed in the middle. A little bit of our foliage placed around it to cover mechanics. And again, we've got the red, the white. It's more of a high-style linear type design. It works very, very well again because of these amazing containers produced and brought to us by the folks at Jacobson Floral Supply. It really is a very, very pretty design. So you can notice we played with holly, we played with boxwood, we have something using winterberries, cochinean hydrangea. So we can play with the concept of things that are different kinds of materials on it. Now we can also play with it in another way. We can start concentrating more in terms of coming up with what I would call a one kind of color situation. Some people call this the mono look. I wouldn't call it totally a mono look because we are playing with the colors of our flowers and we're also going to mix them with the container. Now in this particular case, here we have a very, very pretty design that concentrates mostly on the white as far as the floral section is concerned. Once again, you've got unity because you've got the white snowflakes down here below, but we've got white roses in here. We have white carnations in here. We've got our silver millimeter balls worked in through the center. It works so well. Many people love doing all white designs when they're talking about Christmas or they're talking about winter designing. I would call this not so much an achromatic because it's all white. I would call it an accented neutral because you've got white and you also have the accent of the red here down below. But it works very, very well. So when you're using some of these amazing containers from the folks at Jacobson, you can also think in terms of white and silver and doing that kind of look on this kind of container. It is truly amazing. But wait! There's more. Not only can we do different kinds of materials like holly or boxwood, not only can we play with things like all white and silver, but we can play with other combinations as well. Here, let me show you something. I was playing with this one earlier today. I think you guys are going to like it. This one, we're going to play with the combination of green because traditionally, green has been considered traditional Christmas colors. However, this design is not really a traditional Christmas design by any means. We're playing with it a little bit. Now we're getting across the concept of the green through the green of our bells of Ireland, of our lime-colored carnations, our green athos palms that are here. We also have a combination of foliages used in this design, both our balsams and firs that are mixed here, and also some boxwood that's mixed here. We also, of course, have the green of our millimeter balls. It gives a very, very contemporary kind of feel to the concept of Christmas. And when we consider that we traditionally consider red and green as the colors of Christmas, we have a predominance of green up here. We've got the red down here. It definitely says holiday season, and it does it with flair and panache. It is a beautiful design using interesting combinations of materials. Once again, I think that the containers brought in by Jacobson's using the winter sweater effect really, really work very, very nicely for us. Now, up till now, we've been showing you a lot of designs that are kind of traditional in feeling in terms of the kinds of materials that we're using or the way we're placing the materials. However, I want to point out to you that these containers also lend themselves to kinky effects. When I say kinky, I mean a little bit wilder in terms of our styling. And of course, you have to kind of consider who these things are for. Some people love the more traditional thing, and as we move from a contemporary kind of feeling for Christmas, we want to move into some things that are a little bit wild. This is not for everybody. Not for everybody. Some people would love this. Some people may say, I'm not quite sure. But as you know, when you design, you want to design with the idea of whoever it's for in mind. Now, we've got some interesting things going on here. In this design, for example, we have our birch branch. Notice the birch branch shooting out in every direction. It's shooting out here, it's shooting out here, it's shooting out here, it's shooting out there. That gives a cool effect. We also happen to have some of the amazing iridescent balls. These are like our millimeter balls that are silver and red and green and so forth. These are available from the folks at Jacobson Floral as well. And we've got it in a plaid container. And you can notice that using the plaid container, we really are coming up with a very, very pretty effect for this. It's a little bit more, I'd say, on the wild side as far as our design is concerned. And if you've got a customer who likes that kind of thing, why not? This will work very well both for Christmas and again for the winter holiday. Let's go back to our sweater container and add a couple more things just to give you an idea of a couple more ideas that might be a little bit more on the, what do you want to call it, the wild side. Here's a design that I think you guys are really, really going to like. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Somebody out there will, I'm sure. Here is, again, something using a similar kind of styling to the last one, similar in some ways and a little bit different in others. What we have here is a similar kind of concept of things shooting out on the side, but instead of using birch branches, we're using some stems that were discarded from another project. In other words, we've got some stems shooting out here rather than wasting them. We have the use of our lilies. And aren't these lilies amazing? We've got lilies here as a focal point, one shooting down over here. And then we have a melange of our red millimeter balls shooting through in the center here. Again, a little bit more on the extreme side, a little bit more on the wild side in terms of our color, in terms of our styling here. This one is definitely making use of pinks and reds to go along with the red of our sweater container. It works very, very nicely. Okay, do we have others? Yes, we do. Let me show you another design that also works very, very nicely in this base. Here, getting even a little kinkier. Let's take this one. Again, you have to know your customer. You have to know who these things are for to know whether they're appropriate or not. Some of you may look at this and say, oh my God. Some of you may look at this and say, wow. What we have here is something incorporating a technique called structure. Structure is where we do all kinds of erector set kinds of things. It is definitely a contemporary Christmas offering. You definitely see the Christmas theme, both in terms of our colors and our materials. We're using a combination of green and pink and red here. The green is brought about through the athos palms that are worked in through the design, both in terms of the bottom as well as on the top, worked into some of our water tubes. We have as well the red through the lily. Here we also have a little reindeer that's saying hello to us. Also something we picked up at Jacobson Floral, and a little Santa Claus worked in here. And then our red millimeter balls also available through Jacobson Floral Supply. Once again, making use of the sweater container, the winter sweater container. It is a more contemporary kind of offering. It's very, very pretty. And for somebody who likes something that's a little more architectural and a little bit on the kinky side, this might be just the answer. One more design, folks, I want to show you that I think you'll find of interest, because again, this design, this container, these containers are really quite versatile and we can do so many things with them. Let's go from the very, very way out to the more traditional, and we're going to finish off with a miniature Christmas tree. This happens to be a boxwood tree. We love teaching the boxwood tree here at Rittner's Floral School, and an advantage of doing the boxwood tree, of course, is we are presenting boxwood, but also because it's in a foam base, we can get all kinds of flowers into it. And in this particular case, our boxwood tree contains roses. We have some very pretty pink roses. We have some red carnations worked in here, some yarrow worked in here as well. We've got some green lime carnations worked in here, and then a mixture of not only our ribbon, but also some millimeter balls in greens and in reds throughout the whole design. And of course, what makes this look very, very rich and what makes it look really, really nice is the use of some of these specialty containers that are available from Jacobson Floral in terms of the covered containers. And we're using the winter sweater one. So my viewer, you can see we have covered a lot of ground in this particular presentation. You have seen that we've been playing with three different kinds of containers: our plaid containers, our argyle containers, and our winter sweater containers. At Rittner's Floral School, we believe that floral designing should be quick, easy, and fun. And when we see a tool out there something that will enhance our designing, that can be used in a versatile way to come up with some really cool effects, we get excited. And we think that you're going to get excited too when you start playing with some of these wonderful tools, these wonderful containers available from Jacobson Floral. I'm Dr. Steve Rittner. On behalf of all of us here at Rittner's Floral School, we thank you for coming in and visiting with us today.